So welcome, I'm glad you're here. I'm Catherine White, your host of the weekly Friday Power Lunch, and the show that bring you the guests, the issues, and the action, because we are amplifying the voice of the grassroots to get things done and make politics fun. So let's get to the show. Today's topic, good laws inspired by everyday people, crafting policy from the heart. Oh, sorry, my phone's over here binging. It is February 25th, and welcome to the Friday Power Lunch. I am so honored today to introduce our lineup and our list. First up, NARISSA RAHAMAN. Okay. NARISSA, how are you? Executive Director of Equality Virginia. Don't you love, you can unmute yourself. Don't you love when your phone pings, you forget to turn it off? So how are you doing? You're muted still.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, how are you?
There we go.
Your shiny face and to hear your good news.
Yeah, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm here. We're bringing this equality in the room. We really are, excited to hear what you're working on.
Yeah, here at Equality Virginia, we are striving for full liberation for LGBTQ people all across Virginia. And given the outcome of last November's election, we knew that the past few weeks or the past few years of progress that we made in Virginia would be a little bit different in this session.
It will be. It's going to be tough. So I am so glad that you're here, and we're going to do a segment just unpacking all that you're doing and then how we can help you. So thank you. It's great to see you. And next up, and we're so excited, we have some Gen Z in the room, some Gen Z power. Maria Reynoso. How are you? You're founder and editor-in-chief of We Vote Virginia. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, Maria Reynoso, thank you so much for having me. And as you mentioned, editor-in-chief of We Vote VA, and this is a social media platform that gets young people as young as Gen Z, all the way up to the generation of my parents, to get involved online and use really reliable sources to get engaged.
Well, we are excited because we need that firecracker in the room to get everybody fired up today. So thank you so much. And next up, Lilly Franklin. Lilly is just a great person, and she is so smart about policy. So we wanted to invite her. She's the chief of staff for Delegate Sam Rasoul. How are you doing? How's Roanoke doing out there?
It's doing good. I'm still in Richmond. I'll be heading back this afternoon, but yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love being able to share how to write bills and how to get your ideas changed for change into law. So
yeah, I know. I've been on the kind of the whole school rock policy thing. So I'm so glad to have you here, Lilly. It's great to see you, and we can't wait to unpack that later. And next up, we have a special segment on the Power Lunch today that we'd like to share with you. And actually, Julie Briskman, who's here with us, the Loudoun County District Supervisor. Hello, Julie. You brought this story about Adam to our attention. We're so happy that you were able to consider our platform. And Courtney White, you're the cousin of Adam. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us. I can't wait to share the story with everyone. I can't wait for Courtney to tell us all about all of her hard work.
Yes, it's so important. We talk about this from the heart, Courtney, and you losing your nephew and being there for Eric, dad, after losing their son to this hazing incident. And this was only a year ago. And I know it's tough. So let me first say from the room and from everybody, our condolences on your loss. It's heartbreaking, and it's something you live with every day. You're still muted?
Yes. So it is something that you live with every single day. And I feel like my uncle and I have been really powerful in turning that grief into passion and also into change and much needed change around hazing in our higher education institutes. I don't think people realize just how much it really happens. But we made a really big attempt to just blow the story up to make awareness of what's going on in our universities and colleges and pushing this bill through. So we're really excited to be here.
We are excited to have you because it's true. Everyday people bringing this to the attention. And I love the power in the room that Julie just reached out to us. She was just like, we need to tell the story. We need to make change. So thank you, Courtney, for being here. Thank you, Julie. Also, Senator Boysko will be joining us later. She was the the chief patron on the bill on the Senate side, and Kathleen Murphy, the wonderful delegate that stands up for victims everywhere, also was the chief patron sponsor on the House side. So let's get it started. I hope you have your coffee, your lunch, your good pants on, or maybe no pants on. It's Zoom. We don't know. So how fun is that? Teasing. Okay, so how can you help us? Follow us on social media, a thumbs up on the YouTube channel, like our videos, and remember to subscribe to the Badass Briefing and the Tuesday Tidbits. And of course, our favorite part is the after chat, where everybody likes to stay and just share and be together. And thank you for all that. And let's say hello to the crew in the room. We've worked so hard to bring this program to you. Robin Zeff Warner over there. There she is. Give her a wave. We have Heidi Dragneff, that I think survived last night being glued to the TV, but she's our Twitter guru. And of course, we have Stare Calhoun, ambassador of Buzz, always doing the networking and connecting. And a really special person that's going to be with us today, our intern, Colleen Crana. Hello, Colleen.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here. We have a great show for you today, so I'm happy to be back.
Yes, we are so excited. You're going to be doing your first interview with us on the show. So we can't wait. So thank you, Colleen. It's so exciting to be working with you. You're fantastic.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is definitely an honor. We have a great group, so happy to be here.
Yeah, great. And I want to say that Rosemarie, our shortstop, is I guess she's no longer going to be able to be on the show because she got a job. And I guess if you want a job, you just work on the Friday Power Lunch and your resume gets out and you get hired. So if you're looking for employment, stay on the Friday Power Lunch with us. It's a good way to get picked up to get a job. So thank you, Rosemarie, for all your hard work. And also we miss Jalicia Ward, our MC, but she will be tuning in once in a while. So let's get to it. I have a special guest for our grassroots correspondent, the woman who would get money out of politics once and for all, the badass Nancy Morgan of Money Out of Virginia. Let's rock it, Nancy. What are you up to?
Hey, everybody. And actually, right now, I'm subbing for Luisa Bayarski, who's the coordinator of the Grassroots Coalition. She's on a well-deserved vacation. As mentioned, I'm the coordinator of a state advocacy group, the Virginia chapter of American Promises, which focuses on campaign finance reform. And right now I'm filling in to give you a brief review of the great work undertaken this year by the Grassroots Coalition. Robin, do you want to show some of the slides? Thank you. And first of all, we'll just take a look at the 6 years ago, the Grassroots Coalition started, and it has over these 6 years, it has successfully expanded its engagement all over the state, broadening its focus from voting and canvassing to issues on policy advocacy. And if you go onto the website, you'll notice on the website that the coalition follows around priority about 33 bills, but actually, when you look at the issue groups, the working group, it covers a whole range of issues from education to clean energy to campaign finance. So when you actually look at the bills that all of us are looking at, it is much longer than that. And I just want to do a shout out for Dennis Orsinger and the number of one-click action alerts that she has on the site. And it makes it easy for many of us to be armchair advocates. So let's go to the next slide, and I'll just make mention of some of the issues on campaign finance. This was supposed to be the year of campaign finance, right? What are the opportunities? Most expensive election in Virginia, $7 million in obscure attack ads. There was a joint committee on campaign finance, came up with best practices, coverage by the press, politically split General Assembly. Isn't that good for a bipartisan issue? And especially since we did a polling by the Watson Center of Christopher Newport University, and overwhelmingly, almost 80% of Virginians want to get money out of politics, 88% want disclosure, 75% want limits, and 73% want to get, we're one of two states that allow our legislators to spend money on personal issues, taking campaign finance money. So 24 bills were introduced at the General Assembly. Can we go to the next slide? That was pretty optimistic. We were pretty excited about that. When you look at it now, maybe our batting average isn't so great, because right now at crossover, last week was crossover. We've got 2 weeks in the session. We have 7 bills in play. So we have the fundamentals of campaign finance, enhancing oversight of the Department of Elections, disclosure, we have 4 out of 10 bills that are still in play. Limitations, maybe not so much. So we had 12 bills, and there's one pending, the one John Bell's bill in the Senate that restricts our legislators from using campaign finance for personal use. And then there's a study bill. So actually, those are the bills that we're focusing on the next 2 weeks, getting the 4 bills going from the Senate to the House, and 3 bills vice versa. Can you go to the next slide? And I just want to make some comments on how important the grassroots advocacy is. And I think over the last year, whether you're working on climate change or education or voting, our voices matter. Our legislators are listening through Dennis, these one-click action items. Legislators are getting all sorts of emails from all of you expressing interest in getting these bills through. And relationships are everything. You can testify at hearings, you can send your legislator a message, you can write a letter to the editor, especially in downstate newspapers where people are really interested in hearing from you, and raise your voice at a town hall. So I would really just say right now, even though maybe our batting average isn't that great, or maybe you're depressed about the bill, but the key lesson for all of us is change takes time. And so I would encourage all of you to take the long view on this, develop a 5-year plan, never take a break from advocacy, and always raise your voice. So thanks, Catherine.
I love it, Nancy. You bring it. And money is the problem, the root of all problems, by the way. The Russians are laundering money in the United States and through Republican accounts, just saying. So Nancy, thank you for that. Once we get money out, we may get real democracy. So I appreciate your voice in the room today. And I am so excited to get to some of our next guests. She has been doing such great work. And hello, NARISSA, Executive Director, Equality Virginia. You're going to talk about your work for equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. And we have seen this heightened attack, like you just said, when we introduced the backlash on this equality legislation. So first, tell us about the organization, tell it your mission, and let's get more into the detail of what's happening with this backlash.
Yeah, thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you for having me here. Equality Virginia is a C3 organization here in Virginia that is really working to achieve full equality for LGBTQ people in every area of life. That means access to the ballot box, state laws that are on the books, and just being able to live their full authentic life. And some of the work we do, we're obviously heavily involved and focused on the General Assembly session right now and every year. But we also do great programmatic work as well for trans youth and trans people generally around Virginia. So you name it, when it comes to LGBTQ work, we are doing it. And I think over the next few years, we'll definitely expand some of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, so let's talk about, in the sense of the advocacy side, since we are here talking about policy, crafting policy, what in this particular session, are you seeing? What are you worried about? What challenges is your group kind of addressing down in this session this year?
Yeah, well, I'm going to share some bad news, but I'm also going to follow it up with some great news as well. Like I was saying during the intro, the election last year, the outcome, we immediately knew some of the challenges that we would face as an organization and what we would see in the General Assembly. And Virginia has joined a number of states around the country of introducing an unprecedented number of bills targeting LGBTQ people, but specifically trans youth, who are some of the most marginalized members of our community. And so we had a record number of anti-LGBTQ bills introduced this year, from religious freedom bills that would undermine the Virginia Values Act and allow religious affiliated organizations, give them a reason to discriminate against LGBTQ people in things like employment, housing, public accommodations. We also have seen facility bans or bathroom bans, which was a thing in Virginia back in like 2015, 2016, right, coming back again in 2022. But But really what concerned us was 4 bills attacking, targeting transgender youth in Virginia.
Right.
Senate Bill 20 and House Bill 988, which some of you may remember in 2020, Senator Boysko and Delegate Marcus Simon had introduced bills to have the Virginia Department of Education create model policy protecting trans and non-binary students. And that bill, required school boards to adopt those policy. We all know that school boards and those policies, were a central flashpoint in the election last year. And so we were not surprised this year when 2 bills were introduced, Senate Bill 20 and House Bill 988, to remove the requirement for school boards to adopt those policy. We also saw Virginia sadly join this national trend of introducing a sports ban, prohibiting transgender girls from playing on girls' sports team.
Right.
Yeah, and that was Senate Bill 766, introduced by Senator Kagan.
Well, let's talk. Even like Florida, they've got all the attention. DeSantis says, "Don't say gay." I mean, how much more out in the open can we see these attacks on communities of color, marginal, the LGBTQ queer community? I mean, this is like out in the open. And I want to also explain to people too, like always looking at the bigger picture. This is the same kind of ideology we see in these, these dictators. It's being repeated all over the world. And it's really something we need to pay attention in our politics. But, I digress because I think I'm so focused on really our rights are so at risk. So I appreciate what you're doing at Equality Virginia. I'm so glad you're able to join us today. How can we help? Do you have any action things you could put in the chat for us, or things for us to help you advocate on issues? How do we get involved?
Yeah, definitely. And what you're seeing in Florida and Texas, this is just blatant public erasure of LGBTQ people from life. It is censorship in schools.
Yes.
It's basically politicians trying to erase our community from all the places that bring us joy. Our kids in schools, playing on sports teams, accessing the facilities they need to facilitate. So it's just a widespread coordinated effort by national groups, right-wing national groups, to erase us from public life. But at Equality Virginia, we are, fortunately, we killed all of those anti-trans bills this year, so those are no more, and had some bipartisan support in doing that. When you ask how to get involved, I do want to talk about our Safe Schools Action Network that our Safe Schools coordinator at Equality Virginia, Kylie Hines, is really leading up. And this is a network Kylie is building across all counties of Virginia, that some counties that are adopting those VDOE policies, some counties that are adopting them at a lower level. But Kylie is really working to create a network of parents, of youth, of students, clergy members who want to work together to support trans students in schools, and to make sure that we are doing our efforts to, educate school board members about who trans kids are.
Right. More important than ever now. So if you don't mind putting that link in, and we will, I'd love to hear more. I think that is the answer to this. People have been sort of quiet, and that now people are really awoke and standing up, seeing these attacks. They've been happening, building up for the last year. And now we have our gloves on and we're ready to go. So NARISSA, thank you for being here. Please put all the information. You could stay with us and put it in there, and appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And the link we're putting in, we update it frequently with current action items and everything. So
I know people are looking for ways to get involved. People are looking for ways to get involved, and they're very upset. So that we need to direct them into the right places, and safe spaces sounds like it's perfect. So thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. And it's so great to see you again. And I love your hair. It's looking great. I just have to say, I love it. You look so good. Okay. Anyhow, let's hand it over to Colleen Crana. Hello, our today's correspondent. You're going to go for it, and good luck. We'll see you on the other side.
Hi everyone. So today I'll be talking to Maria. So hi Maria, thank you so much for being here.
Hey Colleen, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, totally. So as we touched on earlier, you are the founder and editor-in-chief of We Vote VA. So could you tell us a little bit about this organization and also about sort of what inspired you to organize this effort to help inform other citizens?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you so much for having me. And as you mentioned, my name is Maria, and I'm the editor-in-chief of We Vote VA. And We Vote VA, or We Vote Virginia, really is a social media platform that provides clear, accurate, and unbiased information on all things local Virginia news, politics, elections, and a lot more. And really the creation of this platform comes from my own experience growing up in an immigrant, Spanish-speaking household and wanting to get involved in my community. Just growing up, it was really hard to obtain information that was provided in Spanish. And of course, growing up with parents who didn't finish high school, I still wanted to find different ways to get involved in my community. So after graduating from Longwood University with my degree in both political science and history, I came out of that, with my degree really energized and motivated, and again, wanted to find creative ways to get folks involved. Of course, the pandemic came right around, but I think this was a really great time for me to find a creative space online to get folks engaged. And that's really where We Vote VA came in. So the goal really was to engage young people all across the platform, as young as folks in the Gen Z, but also millennials and even my parents, to get, again, engaged in local communities, see what was going on locally and ways that they can get informed, of course. And so really, I like to see We Vote VA as kind of like a online town hall or town square where folks can get informed about what's going on, any elections that are happening, bills that are changing and taking place right now. And thankfully, just over the work and over the course over the last 2 years, we've engaged hundreds and hundreds of Virginians. Actually, during the 2021 general election, we engaged over 160,000 Virginians to get engaged during the election. So that was definitely a really great victory.
Wow, that is fantastic. So what does your process look like when you're finding information, and especially unbiased information, when you're sending it out to everyone?
Great question. And this has been really important. And again, and I do recognize that, across different generations, it can definitely look different what unbiased information looks like. So one of my biggest focuses has been making sure that I locate trusted organizations, newspapers, and scholarly articles that provide information, in addition to, of course, looking for hard data from folks like the Virginia Department of Health to make sure that all of the information that we're collecting and sharing was accurate. In addition to that, we have really great resources like VPAP, the Virginia Public Access Project, that also provides great resources. And of course, through collecting all of that and cross-referencing the sources that we do get to ensure that they are accurate, we then feel confident to start publishing this information. But with that, of course, we link all of our information on our Linktree and our website to make sure that folks can also always locate this information from where we got it originally. But also, if there is something that we might have gone wrong the first time, we always encourage folks to let us know, because really in this kind of environment, we want it to be an open, growing community where we're always open to learning and growing, for sure.
Yeah, so as an organization, I know you guys use a lot of different social media platforms. How have you found that you're able to connect with so many different audiences over social media?
Oh, I love this question so much. Well, I'll definitely say that providing a safe space on social media, particularly like with We Vote VA, we wanted it to be a platform where folks can learn, right? If there was an issue you weren't too familiar with, this would be an opportunity for you to ask questions. So again, kind of using it as a town hall kind of sphere where folks could ask questions. I have a lot of folks who email me and DM me personally and ask me questions, and we always work through any of the different questions they might have, or if they have any concerns. But of course, letting folks communicate with themselves. We've seen tons of conversations happen on our platform, and a lot of them have been like really engaging conversations, and they're supportive. And even though folks might not have the same perspective or might not have the same political bias, what you see in this space anyways is that there's a lot of engagement, and they're encouraging each other. And you hear, I don't agree with you, but we can still work each other. We could still work this out, or we can still continue growing. And I think that's been the most hopeful message of this, that we can build safe spaces where you can communicate with others about politics online.
That's great. So what advice would you just give to any citizen who wants to become more informed, or especially kids my age who may not have much experience with politics?
Oh, absolutely. So I would encourage, anyone, please get involved. I'll definitely say that for myself. I didn't really get involved until after high school. Again, just coming up from a background that wasn't super informed, but that means that you can get involved at any age, at any time. The way that I would really encourage folks to get involved is, find ways that you're passionate about. When I was getting involved, I was really passionate about climate. I really want to make sure that we protect our planet. And so, really starting with where you're passionate about, whether it be climate, if you care about food insecurity or homelessness, really important to get involved. Of course, right now during this pandemic, online and social media has been a great way, an equitable way, I would say, for folks to get involved. So definitely finding local groups in your community who are doing great work, and getting involved, right? Whether it be joining a Zoom meeting or sharing some things online, any way of support can really help right now.
That is great. We are so inspired by your work, Maria. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking. And to everyone here, we're posting the links to the social media in the chat. So definitely go check out their organization. They're just
This is the power we need. You two in the room, and Maria, thank you so much for bringing it, and Colleen, awesome job. All right.
Yes, thank you both so much. Colleen, you did a fantastic job. Thank you again.
We're lucky, very lucky to have you, Colleen. Thank you. So, and so the next segment, and I think we have most of our guests here, we really have a story that Julie Brisman, Loudoun County Supervisor, brought to us. And I think everybody in this room needs to hear and support. A year ago, freshman Adam Oakes died from alcohol poisoning while pledging for a fraternity. And now we have 2 hazing bills that were introduced in the General Assembly. So really this story and how we that legislation got crafted and how these people came together, this group, and did something in memory of Adam. We're so honored to have you in the room. And hello, I didn't get to say hi, Dad, at the beginning. Eric, I just wanted to say hello, and also our sincere condolences for the loss of your son. Thank you for being here and sharing your story.
Yeah,
and
thank you for inviting us, and thank you, everyone.
You know what your word said in the article I read, that unfortunately a tragedy had to occur in order to get this law passed, and that you were moved by your memory of your son, Adam, so it doesn't happen to somebody else. So I just want to make sure you're in a great room with people who are just going to send you love and support. And we just want to hear all about this story, because it's so important how we get involved to make life better for everybody. So let's start with Julie. Julie, you tell us the background, how this got started, and how you got connected to Courtney and Eric.
So Potomac Falls High School is in my district. And so, of course, I immediately heard of Adam's passing when it happened, and the community was crushed, absolutely crushed. And then in 2021, when I was knocking doors, I happened to knock on Eric's door, believe it or not. And we talked for probably the better part of an hour. And they had already connected with Senator Boysko and Delegate Murphy on their wishes to make sure that this tragedy can create change. And it really strikes me, I mean, if you get to know Eric a little bit, you might call them reluctant activists, victim activists. And we see this happen time and time again in our democracy. And I think it's one of the things that makes our democracy great, that people can actually make change to the system. And it's from this life-shattering moments that so many people that we know of now who never wanted to be in the spotlight, but they forged this new strength, and they want to make sure that their experiences, their family members' deaths are not in vain, and they are all survivors. And I want to, tell Eric and Courtney that you walk with people like Lucy Macbeth, who lost her son over, a stupid argument over volume of a radio. You walk with Amanda Nguyen, who is the founder and president of RISE, who changes laws state by state for sexual assault victims. You walk with David Hogg, who tragically lost his classmates to a tragic shooting in Parkland. And, locally, we have women like, Micah Little for delegate, who is running for office. And it's because of her family life and her horrible marriage, abusive relationship, that she decided she had to go make change. And so it's these everyday people. I mean, I love this song that you opened with, that they are willing to share their stories and just expose their pain for the greater good. And they have to do it over and over again. Some have to do it in front of worldwide audiences like Blasey Ford and Anita Hill, but they do it because their hearts tell them to do it. It's the truth of their pain that is so visceral that lawmakers have no choice but to listen. And so I really wanted to bring Eric and Courtney, and actually Senator Boysko will be on momentarily. She sent me a text
right here.
literally.
She's here, right here.
Oh, she is. Okay.
She's right next to
you. She was
you.
waiting on the House courts to get the hazing bill passed.
I am so
we will get an
excited.
update right now. Thank you so much for being here.
Let's get to the update. And I also want to make sure that we get to Courtney's, how we actually got to this place where you're announcing this, Jennifer. So let's start with the news, and then we'll back it into Courtney's research and writing this bill that really helped you submit, get it on the floor. So welcome, Senator Boysko. Thank you for your advocacy on this issue.
Thank you all for having me. And I just want to give a special shout out to Eric Oakes and Courtney White again, because you all have been through a slog this past month and a half with us. And Kathleen Murphy, who's not with us today, who is the House patron of the bill. Just moments ago, the full courts committee passed the criminal hazing bill, and that one is SB 440. And it is in the posture now that has the felony on it. Kathleen Murphy, Delegate Kathleen Murphy and I will go into conference together soon after it passes through the floor on both sides to really get it into the best shape that we can, so that the Oakes family is happy with it, and we feel proud of the effort that we've done to save lives. So the way it is now, it's a felony, class felony 5, and it does not hold the presidents of the university responsible. The version that I have does. Mm-hmm. Mine also has, so the Senate version has a misdemeanor and sorry, I'm just blanking out for a second.
That's okay. You know what I think for our room that may not know a little bit about this, and Jennifer, do you have time to stay for a few minutes?
Yeah, I can stay.
Good. I would like to back it up to Courtney's part, because I think what was interesting is Adam's law passed unanimously. And I think that like Eric had said, that spoke to you, didn't it? That people realize that this hazing incident, there needs to be change. People need to know what they're signing up for, correct? And Courtney, you got involved in your research. Tell us about the research element, and especially when you're writing a bill, your journey on this with your cousin, and it's so lucky to have each other. And then how that got to these 2 bills and what they are, because I don't think people know that there's 2 bills, and one of them is the penalty part of it. So Courtney, tell us about your journey on this, and unmute yourself. You're muted.
No, that's a pin.
Oh, is that a pin?
Yeah, it's a pin.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. So thank you. Go ahead.
So first I want to start with, it takes a village. Like, it totally takes a village. And without the people that you see right here with me, Julie, Jennifer, and Eric, none of this ever would have happened. Like, they're amazing. So really what it started with is I started my doctorate degree last January, and I focused on my dissertation for Title I, which is my position, my career. And when Adam passed, it really, it was painful. It was a deep, deep pain that I had never really lost anyone yet. And I feel fortunate for that. But I really started to think, if change really needs to happen, it needs to be a root cause. Like, we need to find out why it's happening, what we can do to change it, all these things. So I switched my dissertation over to the transformation of the anti-hazing movement. And I started to delve into every piece of research you could imagine. I interviewed Professor Hank Newert, who is really a pioneer of hazing research. I found the Anti-Hazing Coalition. I joined it immediately. They are trying to change laws state by state as we speak. So I joined them to learn more about lawmaking. And then I started to talk to hazing families, because through the research, I found out the state of Virginia actually has 10 hazing deaths, 4 military and 6 that are fraternity and sorority hazing. There's 100 in the past 15 years across our nation. And each state that now has a felony, which there's 12, have a felony hazing law. None have one quite like Adam's law, though. And what I mean by that is Jennifer's really pioneered this education bill where we decided as a team, like, what are the things that Adam didn't have that night? What are the things he didn't have? And what can we give kids that would protect them? And ultimately, education is the number one resource that you can give kids to empower them, to provide tools, to, just give them what they need to say no and not have that bystander approach. And so that's really where we started with it. And we realized that there was very limited education being given to these kids. It was a singular webinar. That's it. That's all they got. And in fact, we learned that Adam didn't even have access to that webinar. He wasn't told to watch it, while some of the other kids, there was no mandate. It was very flexible, wishy-washy. So one of the things that we really wanted was education for all. And that means sororities and fraternities. And that means new members and potential new members like Adam, who was a pledge at the time of his death, and current members, to try to teach them that what they're doing is wrong. And one of the things through interviewing Adam's friends, through interviewing college students for the dissertation, that I realized was they truly don't know what hazing is. They think it's like, I don't even know what they think it is, to be honest. They think it's all physical, but what they don't realize is that it can come in many forms. It can come in mental, it can come in all these things. So it was really about giving them that knowledge, like what is hazing, what can happen, all those things to really empower them. And one of the hugest pieces is the fact that that night they knew he was struggling for help. They knew he needed help, and not one of the 20 boys that were there picked up the phone and called 911. Instead, they had a group text going about, did anybody check on Adam? So that's how we know he was in trouble. So part of the bill says, if you get them help and you're not the main hazer, you can be provided this immunity. So it's not protecting the hazer per se, it's protecting those that were there that witnessed it, the bystanders. And that's truly what we want to do. We want to encourage them to call 911 and to get the help that Adam didn't get. And then, like you see in the chat, the 11 boys charged in Adam's passing are receiving a misdemeanor. It's up to a year in jail, which through research, you'll see not a single one of the cases, hundreds that have happened, have received adequate jail time. Its majority is reduced sentencing to probation, and this is, I want to be clear in saying that we're not saying that if you send someone to McDonald's to get your lunch or you have them clean your bathroom, that that's a felony. What we're saying is if you put that bottle, a gallon of Jack Daniels in that kid's hand and you tell him to drink and don't let him leave, or you make his drinks and you are the perpetrator, then we're saying, and it results in a death. So we're trying to be very clear. It's severe instances of hazing are what we want that felony. It's not the, like Jennifer was saying, there is a class 1 misdemeanor still in one part of the bill. But the class 1 misdemeanor would stick for like a kid getting sleep deprivation, things that like happen that don't result in a death.
Well, Courtney, I think your approach, and I this so amazing, all the research you did, and because it just shows it is a huge problem, right? And education, and Jennifer being an advocate for that, and people in this room, and educating our children, like before they go to college, to be prepared. And I think even kids in this power structure, like these fraternities, these cultures, that's where all of them, so none of them go to jail, buy into this kind of power culture that kind of is harmful, and maybe think of a new way, like you said, that the word even hazing, like is not understood completely what that means. So pitching it back over to Jennifer on that, and then what we're seeing going on, Jennifer, or your hopes for the future for this bill, or how it will just maybe transform the experience for college students. And we're talking, you can actually sexual assault, all these kind of things that happens to kids. We need to prepare them, right?
Yeah, really, we're looking at trying to change the culture of college experience, right? That hazing is not a normal thing, that is a good experience.
Right.
And so with having the two bills together, one that provides a really robust education, not only to the students, but also to the advisors, and makes it clear to the administration that this is a serious problem that they have some responsibility for. Coupling that with the criminal piece that asks, again, people to take some responsibility for trying to prevent this from happening to anybody else. Right. And making sure everyone understands what is on the line if you do engage in this behavior is what our hope is. These bills haven't been updated since I think 2014. Wow. And I think in the late 1990s was really the first modern stab at this, and they have always come after there's been a death in Virginia to hazing. This is something that the governor, he has expressed interest. And again, as I was going before the courts committee in the House today, they made it very clear to me that that is the one and only bill that has to be dealt with today so that it can get into the proper form by next week so that we can actually get this out. Oh. And we've been working together with Courtney and Eric for almost a year now. And I just, just the bravery and the interest in trying to make things better for everybody. I've just got to continue to applaud them. And Julie, who is also their supervisor, Julie Briskman, has been here with us the whole way as well. This has been a team effort and has received very, very strong support from the General Assembly overall. And it's just been I'm really proud of the work that everybody has done.
Right. And it really shows how public servants, government works for people. I mean, you have the attention of Julie, you have the senator, you have the delegate, and you have the concern, you have the community coming together. And then who's lucky to have a cousin that's doing research and how you did something. And it's just in his memory. It's just so amazing. So if there's any help we can do, Jennifer and Julie, like in the sense of sending a message down, what would be helpful today?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to go into conference with the two bills that are pretty different. Mm-hmm. I prefer mostly what the House has done, but there are pieces in the Senate, and I'm not going to get too into the weeds. But
right, yes, that's okay.
If we can come up with a unified a compromise, right. If you all could help, share the word that that's really what everybody wants, and that would be best for the future. I'd be so grateful. And I know Network Nova has the ability to get the ears of my colleagues. And so I thank you for using your voices in this.
All for good, as we say. And I so appreciate you guys doing the work you do. That's why we work so hard to elect good people to represent us. So thank you, Jennifer. And I'd like to give the last word to Eric. I know it's emotional, but it is Adam we're talking about. And I know you talk about knowledge is power and your son. Why don't you wrap this up for us? Tell us maybe about Adam.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer Boysko, Julie Briskman, and I love Courtney. I mean, she's my rock. I mean, she has been incredible, and she's the strongest person I know. She's a mother of 4, and she's taking on the dissertation and getting her doctorate, and just taking on this and putting her life on pause for a year. It's incredible. And I love you so much.
Yes.
With Adam had a huge heart. When he walked into a room, you just immediately smiled when you saw him. Some of the parents are telling me, like, when he came over to their house, most of the kids, run into the basement. Adam would sit down, pull up a chair next to him and talk to him for a little bit before, he went to visit the child he was coming to see. And I mean, that's just the kind of person he was. He was, when we first received word, this happened, a lot of people were reaching out to us about binge drinking. And I'm like, this wasn't a binge drinking. This was a hazing incident.
Right.
Adam didn't go there, to drink a gallon of liquor. And, just don't get the two confused, because it's totally separate. He was ordered to drink, and he was ordered to do things that outside the norm that he wasn't, accustomed to doing. So sorry, I don't mean to get on the soapbox here, but
Oh, you have it. It's yours.
he's if I was God, I would want to be surrounded with people like Adam. So, I mean, it's hard for me I want him here next to me, you know? I mean, he had his whole life to live. And we're just to the point now where we're like, we got to make a change. We got to do it now. We got to make sure that it doesn't happen to another child, doesn't happen to another family. I mean, Adam was just going to college.
Right.
In his first year. I say he was preyed upon. When all the information comes out, which we can't talk about, it will just be devastating when you hear all the things that happen in the case.
Yes.
But I just, you know, we started a foundation, and we want to start educating at the middle school level, and introducing hazing along with bullying. And then we want to, you know, as you get older, you know, that messaging continues into high school. And then it actually, when you go to college, you'll be able to identify it. You know, there's awareness, and you'll be able to notice, you know, how to get help, you know, to call 911 when somebody's, you know, had too much to drink or in trouble. So we think if you know, bring it in gradually at a younger age, they'll be able to identify it. So that's what our foundation's specifically about. And we're here to help.
Thank you so much. And I know everybody in this room is just has you in your heart, and your son and your family. And, you know, so we just thank you for the courage to come and share this, because this is transformational stuff. And we need, and especially when it comes to education and teaching at the very beginning with our children, especially if the school system could help with that. And then just to empower students to make these decisions for themselves and not be preyed upon. So God bless you and your family. Thank you for being here. And I know that I hope people are inspired in the room. And we know we have people in the room who have done this. Lisa Sales is with us. She's been down testifying. Participating in the process is important. And this is how we work on good policy. So thank you. We're going to segue to our next segment. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
To our next segment, because really, when we talk about this modeling and you know, the anti-bullying, and we look at the adult world, and I think, geez, right, we have to do a better job at it. And Lilly Franklin, you're here with us today. When you see citizens that have these kind of troubles, I mean, you're chief of staff for Delegate Rasoul. People must come to you all the time. And it just say, what can I do? And you have what I call the School of Rock program for how to write policy. And you heard this story here. Tell us about, like, for people in this room, what does that process look like?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And we actually had some students from VCU come into our office just the other day wanting to advocate for this law. And I don't feel like they're not in relation to the work y'all are doing. They just were very passionate about it, and they were, wow. So I really appreciate that. You know, the first thing I always like to tell people whenever they call and they have these issues or something that they want to advocate for, is that it's okay if you don't understand the legislative process right now. Because if you grew up in Virginia, you learned about the legislative process probably in 4th grade. Yeah. And the only thing I remember from 4th grade is Miss Angel's brownies. So, you know, it's perfectly understandable, and you can ask questions, and that's totally okay. And then, you know, the other thing I like to tell people is, you know, most of the things you see at the federal level happen at the state level in some version, because the federal level was modeled after Virginia. So it makes it really easy for you to kind of think about what you need to do to pass legislation in Virginia. And so a couple of years ago, we had a lot of people coming to our office wanting to put in their ideas and wanted to make change. And so we came up with this program, You Write the Bill, participatory lawmaking. And
Lily, go ahead and show that slide. I think we have time. If you want to bring it up and then make sure it's on full screen, have a little, if it's helpful.
Yeah.
Full screen. Yeah, the slideshow. There we go. All right. Awesome. Woo, I love it. This is like the School of Rock. Remember that, like that School of Rock, we always how to make a bill, how to write a bill. So thank you. Take us through it a little.
Yeah, so I will start with, I'll just walk you through one of the ideas that we had. So in case you don't know, Virginia legislators, they're part-time. They are citizen legislators. They are not experts in everything. And your life experiences most likely will make you an expert on things that they might not have any ideas about. So the first step is to draft your bill idea. And so for this quick example is we had a woman come to us who was in a domestic violence situation who later got out of it, but she had problems with financial abuse and her credit score was messed up. And so she wasn't able to get out of the housing, get out of the dangerous situation. And so her idea was to try to figure out something to do about this. You know, that's not a law really or legislation directly, but it's an idea. And so we were able to take that information and work with our drafters to actually make that into legislation. So I don't want people to think that you need to know that you want to make this specific law change, that you want it to be a misdemeanor, you want it to be a felony, or you want it to make it this way. You just need to have your idea and that you want to change it. And then your state legislators will definitely help you work through that. So we take the idea, while we're working on the drafting, we work with the stakeholders and have the constituent work on building a coalition. So in her case, she worked with domestic violence groups, she worked with the Poverty Law Center and some other groups that did housing, and started building like the talking points and building the support number, because it takes a large group of people to move bills across and get them passed. And so then the next step is to find a legislator to carry your bill. We did decide to carry this bill. We don't carry all the bills that we draft. We just help people through the whole process. So once your bill is submitted, it's then got to work through the whole process. And this is the Cliff Notes version, because there's lots of places where it gets very more nuanced and difficult. So it's not going to 100% follow steps 4 through 10. So it gets assigned to a subcommittee, and if it passes the subcommittee, it will go to a full committee. Then it has to go to the House floor or the Senate floor. Once it passes that chamber, it then has to pass in the opposite chamber and repeat the same steps. If it passes all of those, then it becomes law. In the constituent case that I was talking about, her bill did end up passing. So that she was pretty excited about that. Yeah. I think
I'm on mute, sorry. I love the idea that if you want to take the slide down so I could see you. I love that, like you're telling people in the room that it's just an idea. I think sometimes it seems overwhelming that you don't even know where to start, and you've really made this very simple. And then finding the legislator, finding somebody to care. But the building coalitions, I'm sure that Courtney really had to do in that process of trying to build that kind of momentum behind them, really gets probably the attention. Like, what is there, 1,700 bills that went down to the session this year?
Yeah. It is. And, you would think, so you hear this bill, I'm sure everybody on here is like, yes, let's advocate for domestic violence victims. But we had opposition to this bill the whole way. So you can have a great idea and things can happen. I'm sure that they faced opposition too with Adam's Law, with the people having to have other conversations. So the coalition helps you get the bill passed. So.
Right. That's so true. And I think that's really important. So Lily, thank you. And if anybody wants to contact Lily Franklin, I could tell you that she will answer. You can put your information in the chat. And are you doing any programs coming up on writing the bill, or are we kind of like going to take a little break after this session and then get back to it?
Yeah, we'll take a little break, but then we should have one in the fall. But if any groups that are really interested in working on something, we'd be happy to talk with them. I put the information in the chat, so feel free to reach out anytime.
Okay, awesome. All righty. Let's go to end of show stuff. But Robin, I'm sure you told me that I may have skipped our promo. Let's do our promo now real quick. We have time before we end up. If Robin wants to join me on the screen, let's
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Well, we've got some great promos. The first thing we need to do is to thank our patrons. We have 4 new patrons: Gail Christie, Kayla Conrad, Julie Gatto, and this morning, I woke up to Suzanne Chastain becoming a patron. So we love our patrons. And, exactly. Also, we're looking for a few people who might be interested in helping backstage on the Friday Power Lunch. So if you like being part of the stage crew, send me an email. My email is in the chat. Let's see, what else, Catherine, is the end
what
of
else?
show?
I guess if you want a job, you join the crew and then you get employment. So there's also a perk to being on the team. We're so grateful all the work Heidi does, tweeting for us. And this is why the Patreon subscription so helps our work, that, once we build up how to support ourselves, we can actually pay ourselves a little bit, which will be a great, fantastic goal.
And speaking of Heidi, she started working with us, and now she's doing it for Demcast, all of Demcast. So I tell you start on the Friday Power Lunch, and then you just end up working for everyone.
Well,
exactly.
Well, thank you so much. And let's just wrap up. We're going to go into the after chat. It's my favorite time of the show. I am let's just give a round of love and hearts to everybody, all our guests on the show today. I mean, what a lovely lineup we had. NARISSA, I don't know if she's still here, but from Equality Virginia. Barrio Reynoso is here from the We Vote Virginia. And I don't want to forget everybody. I got to go all the way to the front. And also our Lilly Franklin, Chief of Staff for Sam Rasoul, and our wonderful story about Adam, about the hazing bills. We're so happy to have Julie Briskman with us, Courtney White, also Dad, Eric Adams, and Jennifer Boysko, the senator. So thank you so much to all our guests. And let's think about next week. We're going to kick off Women's History Month. We have some powerhouse guests. We're going to rock March. You won't want to miss March. We are going to make sure we keep things moving in Virginia on the Friday Power Lunch. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, our videos, subscribe to the Badass Briefing, the tidbits, a lot of good information, because we're going to make sure we go down to Richmond for the ERA in March. I'm planning that. That's up our sleeve, and we're going to do it. So we'll have more information next week. And let's just wrap it up. What do you say? See you soon. See you next week. Love you all.